Okay, we are streaming. The channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some Blades in the Dark.
So many blades.
Blades.
It has been too long since we last had an episode of this adventure. This time of year is just tricky schedule-wise. However, we're back now. And when we last, well, I suppose we should introduce. I'm Christiana Ellis. I'm the Dungeon Master, Game Master in Blades of the Dark. Our players tonight, Mark Guilfoyle as Indigo.
I have a very cunning plan.
Jenny Meltzer as Nightshade.
Only if it includes death.
Paul Fisher as Garland.
Yo.
And Starla Hutchton as Primrose.
And I am also here.
So,
AKA the boss.
yes. Which we learned last time is that that Primrose is the boss, whether she was aware or okay with that or not. And anyway, so when last we left our heroes, the Pocket Protectors had assumed magical alternate identities, posing as the Scare Stoppers in order to infiltrate an underwater region of the Feywild, hoping eventually to steal a magical artifact from an evil Fey, Archfey named the Lady Despair. More specifically, they had agreed to rescue a talking suit of armor for a woman named Curity Detweiler, who they hope will be an ally in this mission against the Lady Despair. And so, in trying to recover this suit of armor, they have descended down into the vents, these deep trenches within this magical region of the Feywild known as the Moonshadowed Sea. You snuck past some little Fey creatures. You avoided some large sea creatures, and then you also helped the ghost of an explorer, treasure hunter, find peace. But now you are in the level of these tunnels that you believe the armor will be on, but you are also surrounded by strange blue glowing jellyfish, and you also have every reason to expect that the suit of armor itself will be guarded. So, Scare Stoppers, what would you like to do? Everybody's full of ideas.
Yep.
I feel like we should start honing in on that armor that we came here to look for. Like, we know where it is. Wasn't somebody pinging on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, a magical means of trying to discover exactly where it is, or at least approximately where it is, or the direction of where it is. It's a little difficult down here. But we can continue with that. I'm not sure about these creatures, if they pose a threat or if they're merely, I don't know, natural creatures down here. I don't know much about animals.
I don't know. You want to touch one and find out?
It would be an experiment to find out. It's true. The
I was
consequences
kidding.
might be
Don't
grave,
don't actually do that.
but it would discover the truth. But it
I
will
would like
probably
to
happen at
pick
some
up a
point.
rock.
Okay.
I would like to pick up a rock and throw just a small one at one of these jellyfish and see what happens.
Okay. So let me think. This is, I think, going to be a controlled, limited action. And I think throwing a rock is going to be, probably hunt.
Does that count as like finesse? Maybe?
Finesse might work. Let me,
It's
let me
one of the
pull it
things
up.
If you're
is
really trying to hurt them.
Remember what the
handle a vehicle or mount, so that kind of would.
Yeah,
fit
I
in
think
there.
finesse would probably work. first of all, what I'm going to do is I have these clocks that were left over from last time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a 6-step clock that is dealing with the jellyfish. And so you are now, I think, a finesse roll, as I mentioned, control and limited.
Okay.
So this clock here on the left is for your dealing with the jellyfish. All right. So your 1 die roll was a 6. And so that means that you were, with a full success, but a limited effect. You get 1 tick of the clock. Nice. But what you find as this rock, kind of, glides through the water, and then sort of bounces gently off the bell of this jellyfish. The jellyfish does not seem to be injured in any way, but it does sort of bounce sort of gently and start bobbing away, kind of partly from the momentum of the impact, but also seemingly like moving away from whatever did that. So you don't notice any kind of obvious violent reaction or detect any other sort of thing, but you have discovered that is one method by which you can kind of bob them out of your way.
Is it possible to take closer observations? I want to see if they have patterns or if they are feeding off something or reacting to anything else.
That would probably be a survey roll. I think that you're going to probably have to get a little closer to try to see more about what they're doing, because from a distance it's kind of hard to see. The water's cloudy. You can kind of see them glowing, but if you want to sort of try to see if they're doing anything other than just floating there, you'd have to get a little closer. So, but I'll call that a risky standard survey.
Can we make this worse?
Do you want to make it a desperate and in exchange for a great effect?
Yes.
Or a devil's bargain is the other way you can go, right?
No, I think desperate would be fun.
Okay.
Desperate where he's actually going to be moving around them and seeing what they react to.
Sure.
And seeing how quickly they react.
Picking a specific one and actually kind of following it around to see if there's any sort of, like, is it following the current? Is it moving around? What is it doing?
Does it react when it gets this close?
Yeah.
Does it react when it gets this close?
Sure.
How about now?
Yeah. So in that case, I'll allow you to make a desperate great survey.
Okay. That sounds like fun. We don't do this enough. Desperate.
Remember, when you roll a desperate roll, you take
great.
XP?
It's true. All right. And we'll do that one. Let's see what that does. No extra things.
Okay.
6.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so you got a 6, which means that is a success. And turning it into a great effect is going to give you 3 ticks. All right, so I think that what you discover as part of this observation is that you've seen kind of 2 colors of them. You've got these red ones and these bluish ones. And as you kind of watch and observe them a little bit more, you discover that you can get pretty close to them, and they kind of start, you manage to observe the transition where it starts paying attention to you, and you are able to kind of move back out of the way without it actually, directly interfering with you. But what you observe is that over the space of a few minutes, you watch this happen a couple of times where the blue ones will move over and start to kind of hover over these sort of glowing vents where there's hotter water emerging up from these presumably volcanic vents. And they will kind of hover there for a while, kind of settling in, and they will actually turn red, at which point they are floating off to some other part of the cave. And so what you have seen a couple of times is that blue ones will come in from somewhere, hover over the vents until they turn red, and then move somewhere else.
Interesting.
But what that also tells you is that you can basically guess with pretty good accuracy which direction any given jellyfish is actually traveling in by color.
It would appear that they are not exactly sentient, but reactive. Not necessarily to touch, although your rock probably proved that they do have touch sensitivity, but they can probably pick up something in the currents. And they seem to look for heat. It might be possible to drag them away from any particular place by presenting a source of heat that they would gather to naturally. That might allow us to avoid them.
What do we have that could generate heat?
Certainly.
Sacred flame.
Well, it's a lot of water. So Sacred Flame could certainly, create a very small localized burst of heat. But
alternatively, creating cold might dissuade them from being in a particular area. Cold is a little easier for me to generate in general, and in the water, I think it might be a little more effective. Fire would probably be a little less easy.
What about, like, lightning?
Generally effective.
I mean, that's hot.
Probably a little more disruptive to them, but it may be effective as a dissuasion.
Yeah, I've been contemplating what lightning would be like underwater. And I'm not sure if it would just come right back in my face.
Well, it might not, but I would suggest that none of us stand very close to you when that happens.
Yeah, it could actually be like a fireball up in the air.
Or the lightning bolt.
Yeah.
If you would like to test this, I would suggest warning us, and we'll just step back. I would like to observe, though.
I would like you to observe, but I don't think I'm going to do it right now. I mean, it seems like we can move them out of the way just by throwing rocks at them.
And you know basically which way they're going based on what color they are, right? So easier
we might
to avoid.
not even, we could probably just avoid them.
We can plot a tactical route. The timing will be a little difficult, but I think we can do it.
Oh.
Okay, let's do it.
all right. So I think then Prowl would be like stealthy, but I think in this context it's not about like avoiding notice so much as responding to their own patterns. And so it does sound like it would be a group action though. So does someone want to lead that? It would likely be well, let's see, it would be survey again or study. I think maybe it should have been study before when it was survey, and then this would be survey. But that's fine. So it could be survey again.
I have one in survey. I can lead.
Yeah, I have 2, but I only have 4 stress left before I take trauma.
Yeah,
I don't know where everyone else is
similarly
at.
4 stress.
I have 4 stress right now.
Okay, so we're all there. I'll lead it then.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So the way, of course, that works is that everyone is going to roll survey. This is risky standard. I think so. Whatever the highest result is will be the result for the group, but however many players have a failure as their highest roll will dictate how much stress is taken.
No.
All right. So let's see. We've got a 2 from Garland, a 4 from Nightshade, 3 and 5 from Primrose, 6, 2, 2 from Indigo. So the highest result is 6, which means it's going to work. But we have just one failure, so that's going to be 1 point of stress for you, Primrose, as the party moves through, and it's going to, with a standard effect success, you're going to fill that. And I have to say, I am considering whether I maybe need to make some of these challenges more difficult, because you guys keep rolling a lot of 6s, which means that no consequences happen. But you're spending stress too, so it's all probably good. And we'll see how things develop. But so I think you are able to navigate following Indigo's little compass marker in the direction that you're looking for, and able to move down through. Let me put the map on the to moving through the field of Jellyfish, at which point you see in one of these far corners of the cavern down here, you see what looks like a suit of armor wrapped in chains, and it is surrounded by 4 bored-looking like mer creatures. Like they're not like mermaids in the sense that they don't look pleasingly human from the waist up. They look like aquatic, creatures with mermaid limb arrangements, but otherwise, fishy and monstrous looking to your aesthetic sensibilities. And they seem bored. They are currently playing some sort of a game with what looks like wooden tiles of some kind, but they're obviously guarding the armor. And so you are seeing this kind of approaching, but to get any closer, obviously, we're gonna need to start looking for new roles. And I'm going to establish a 12-step clock for dealing with the guards.
12 steps.
Mm-hmm.
So that the armor is all chained up.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean it's like locked? There's a lock somewhere?
You are not close enough to tell, but that would be the chains are fastened to it in some way.
Time to use that old knock spell.
Yeah, too bad we're doing D&D.
You could still use it.
Yeah, how exactly does that work? Like, because there are some spells like Auto's Irresistible Dance and Knock that, like, it doesn't require a roll. It just, you cast it and it works.
Yeah. I think ultimately the way that we, resolve this is that because, for example, how much it's helpful, how long it takes them to shake it off after that first round. Like, these are the sorts of things that we're just going to use the Blades in the Dark moves to resolve. And I think also any friction between the two, we kind of resolve down to magic works a little funny down here, right? And so you're going to make a move, but I would say that is kind of the equivalent of one of your powerful spells. I would say that it's likely to have a greater effect than a more limited use of magic would be. So that's also, I think normally that would be one target, right? Yeah. So.
But for like Knock, it's not really an attack. It just opens a lock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I was just curious how that would work.
Well, I mean, I think what it comes down to is we would do a roll to find out how well it works. Yeah, pretty much all, like, there's not going to be, like, unless something is just really obvious that there would be no risk at all involved, then we're going to do rolls. But those rolls might be resolved in terms of, like, it's not so much that the knock spell wouldn't work to undo the lock, but can you get there and do the spell effectively? Can you find the thing that you need to cast it on? These sorts of questions. But recall that we want to approach this as fiction first, and then we figure out what the roles are. And so, rather than just looking at the list, let's imagine this is a show. We're watching a show. What do the characters do as they peek around one of these little pillars and see?
Are they like sitting at a table, or like do they have a little table set up where they're playing this game, or are they?
Yeah,
just sitting on
I
the
think
ground?
they've got what looks like maybe like part of a barrel that might have been shipwreck debris, and they're playing some sort of a game.
Didn't they tell us when we were up there that people come into the vents to look for the best treasure because it's so dangerous?
Well, it's because it's dangerous. Fewer people venture down there when they look for treasure. As a result, whatever's down there is going to be less picked over. Is the idea?
So what if we
But
use
this
that as our
one-
approach? I mean, we found this really cool treasure.
So can we see how many of the guards there are?
There are 4.
Okay. So do you guys remember that scene in Labyrinth where Ludo is hanging upside down and she throws the rocks and the guards attack each other? I'm wondering if we could try to do something like that, if there's a way to make it look like one of the guards was cheating at the game or something. Nedry, you've got some kind of
You could
illusion
probably
spells
just
or
use
something,
like
maybe?
Mage Hand. Don't you have
I
invisible
mean-
Mage Hand?
I do have that, yeah.
How-
I'm not
which-
familiar with the rules of the game just yet, but I'm sure it could be interpreted as someone cheating. They
You
do
can just-
seem unengaged, however. I'm wondering if they can be talked with and convinced to simply do something else. But that's more your line of work than mine.
I don't know, given who they work for, probably. I don't think I'm going to be able to convince them to abandon their posts.
You
Like
don't
that
know
If
unless
I-
you try.
seems like a lot.
If I
Yeah.
knew the rules of their game, I would challenge them to it, or one of us could. Perhaps that would be more interesting to them, and if they lost, they would be forced to leave.
Yeah.
And if
I
other
think-
things were being done to make them lose more efficiently, then, well, it'd be even more effective.
Okay, I have thought. So if we want to get closer, because I am a master of disguise, what if how would we go about making ourselves look like ghosts, or one of us look like a ghost that's just wandered down in here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, act like we're not paying any attention. We just like wander around and moan and said, "Help me, I don't know where I am," or
Well,
whatever.
One of the advantages of being underwater is we're all neutrally buoyant, so
You're
some of
not
the
though.
ghostly abilities.
You do sink, just not as you don't like
Right, well,
fall
sorry.
as quickly. But yeah,
we are less grounded than we are normally. So some of the motions might be a little more easy to pull off.
What if I'm gonna use my shadow skin and make myself look like a shadow, like just black.
Okay.
Completely, like I'm just a shade moving around.
all right.
And does that have the appearance like if I sort of just walk lightly like I'm a shambling shade?
I
I think it can be
mean,
made convincing.
well, see, I'm not going to guarantee any particular reaction from them, but you could certainly use that to make yourself look like some sort of a shadowy creature.
Okay.
I mean, by literally making yourself appear to be a shadowy creature, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you
And
don't
it
need
looks
to
even
roll
better
to
'cause-
you don't need to roll to do that to yourself.
Right.
But in order to accomplish anything with it, that's something else.
So what do you want me to do? Just sort of like shamble over there and meander around and moan a little bit?
Perhaps you can
act
learn
like you're
more
not
about them, or their game, or their names.
in as much as you can, just wander around and like pretend not to like even see them or pay any
Okay.
attention to them. Like I don't
Ghost casual.
Okay. Ghost casual. All right.
haunt casually.
All right. So would that be a prowl roll?
Well, I think a prowl would be if you were trying to avoid notice altogether, which I think you would be potentially good at with making yourself look easier to hide in the shadows, that sort of thing. But it sounds like you kind of do you want them to notice you? Because if you want them to notice you, then that's probably a different. You know what? Let me.
Yeah.
I need to give my little handy skill reference here, because like persuading them that you are some sort of a ghostly creature is probably.
Could I use command for that to sort of like command the presence?
No, I think command would be more if you were telling them to do something. Like if you, as a ghost, were trying to say, leave this place, and wanting that to work, right, that might be a command roll. But if all you're trying to do is play act that you're a ghost, I think that sounds more like sway to me.
Okay.
Because you've made yourself look like a shadowy creature, but I guess here's what it comes down to. What is the goal? What are you trying to accomplish with this?
I think they want me to gain information to just sort of see how they react to me being there and see if I can get an eye on their game.
Yeah,
see if they try to talk to me.
I think if the goal is really just to act like a ghost and show up and see what happens when they think they see a ghost, that still sounds like sway to me. But it's it's like if the goal is just to find out what they do.
Isn't that what you want me to do? I mean, is there anything else you want me to do while I'm
Well,
over
it
there?
depends on how they react. If they, seem hostile to you, like maybe lead them away. I guess if they react defensively or whatever. But
Should I lead them back towards everybody else, or away, just the opposite direction, so that way you guys can get in?
Yeah, I think the opposite direction from us.
Okay.
Divide and conquer?
Right. Yeah, let's split the party into ghosts. Okay.
All right, so are you trying to lead them away, or you're just walking over there to see what happens?
I mean, honestly, I know what you're asking me, but I feel like I wouldn't know until I knew how they were going to react.
Well, okay, but I guess
going over there.
I want you to just for a moment think of this from the perspective of you're Nightshade. Mm-hmm. You're about to make yourself look like a ghost and walk over there hoping what will happen.
That they will try to chase me off or get rid of me.
Okay. Well, see, that's what I was looking for. It's like, what's the goal? What are you hoping will happen? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I think sway is the role, because that you're trying to essentially persuade them to do something through your acting. Okay. But further in a way that they don't understand what's actually happening. Right?
Okay. I'm gonna take a devil's bargain to get an extra die because I only have one.
Okay.
In Sway.
So I think what is so first, it's gonna start as a risky limited because you're kind of not taking any kind of an aggressive action. You're just kind of drifting around, right? But with a devil's bargain, you can have an extra die, but you notice that some of these jellyfish seem to be like drifting in this direction a bit more. Like they weren't as concentrated over here, but they are going to start drifting over more.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Here I go, shambling like a ghost.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so not only is that a success, but it is a
Nice.
crit. It is a double 6, 2 6s.
I don't remember what
You
that
guys
means.
just are getting so lucky with the dice. It's crazy. All right, so
Makes
it's
up for 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
all right. So I think what happens is that as you so first of all, hang on, let me pull up the book. I should have had this up. Just more so I wanted to just look up to see what else I do as a crit. But here, I think what it comes down to is you're gonna get 2 ticks of the clock for your standard success. You know what? I'll go ahead and just say it's 3 to account for that it's a crit. But the way that essentially is working is that as soon as they see you, there is the body language of all of them is very, not like afraid, but like annoyed and like irritated. And you see that they, 2 of them immediately, push away from the little table and start like moving to like corral you, to like push, like to be between you and the armor, and start trying to shoo you away basically. And as you kind of drift in the other direction, they are following you, trying to continue to shoo you further and further away.
I'm just moaning as they do, like,
So,
no.
Yeah, and so they do seem very determined to not have you be close to where they are, and they seem really annoyed and irritated, but not afraid.
Okay. Is there anything I can do that would make them afraid?
Well, if that's what we want the next thing to be, then we can do that. But it sounds like you're leading them away a little bit. Are you? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So is anybody doing anything else, or you're just waiting to see what else happens with Nightshade?
So the other 2 are still there, right? Is their attention directed?
Yeah, well,
the action?
they are talking to each other and kind of glancing over to follow where the other 2 went. They're not resuming their game. They're clearly like, this is an interruption that they are not pleased with. The vibe I want you to have here is that these are 2 guards guarding the front of a building, and one of you has decided to roll, like the modern like contemporary mystery story would be, one of you has disguised yourself as a sloppy drunk that has made 2 of them have to deal with you, and the other 2 are just like, that sort of thing. So they're annoyed. They're waiting for their friends to come back.
Why don't you unlock the armor and I'll threaten the guards?
Well, we're not close enough to see if there's a lock, where the lock is.
You have to touch the thing to use knock anyway, I believe.
Let me check.
I might be wrong, but that's my impression.
No, it's a range of 60 feet.
Okay, well, I don't care.
Yeah.
The point is you have to roll. The point is you have to roll. You can't just do things for free.
Right.
We roll to see if it works.
Yeah, I can't use that right now because I can't even see if there's a lock because we're not close enough.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Are any of you able to conjure a point of heat? If we could attract some of the jellyfish over to it, it would be another thing for them to have to deal with. I unfortunately really don't deal with cold. It's more difficult. I can produce heat, but it's not subtle.
I have lightning. I have freezing spears. I don't think I have any
I'm
fire.
not sure if these creatures are smart enough to be fooled by an illusion either, which was something that crossed my mind.
Well,
now
I think what you're noticing,
maybe
what you're noticing also is the longer you're staying in one spot, you think it's possible that just your own body heat staying in one location is attracting them. And so they're not threatening you at this time, but they are starting to drift towards you in greater concentrations, which you suspect will only continue to get worse the longer you stay in one spot.
And it's scary because you can hear me from over there going like, whoa.
And you also hear the guards. They're speaking some variety of Sylvan, going, "Shoo! Come on! No, get out of here! Go back up the other level with the other ghosts! Come on! Get!
Yeah,
And assuming you let them kind of shoo you to keep, like that's what they're doing.
I will let
there
them
is always
shoo
the direct
me.
approach. I could just engage them in a conversation. I'm sure after a few questions they will be quite curious.
Okay. I mean, they're split,
I know.
so
Yeah,
it might be worth it to just charge in at this point.
that's what I'm thinking of.
I am rather curious about this game.
Well, I mean, you could wander in like you were lost or something, but I think that might be a little suspicious after our ghost friend already pulled a trick. I'm actually going to. I want to get away from this and move more over towards where Nightshade is,
Mm-hmm.
so that if we engage, then we've got 2 here and then 2 down there, and
All right. Are
We've-
you trying
we've
to
split
do that without attracting attention, I assume, and avoiding the
Yes.
jellyfish? So that sounds like a prowl to me. It's going to be risky standard for now.
oof, that did not go well.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. So what that's a 3 and a 1. So that's definitely a failure. And I think what happens here, gosh, is it bet? Yeah. So I think what happens is you are focused more on the guards. And as you are kind of moving around, trying to stay out of their line of sight, you inadvertently, you had lost track on one of the jellyfish, and you inadvertently find yourself moving right through some of the hanging tendrils from them. And you are going to have the level 2 harm stung. Now, you know what? I'm gonna actually say, gosh, what I need a I need a more aggressive word. Like
Otherwise,
no, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just sort of feeling like stung sounds like a bee sting, whereas what I'm talking about is you have walked with your face through a cloud of jellyfish tentacles.
But they're like sucking heat too, so it could be like the cold sting.
Yeah. So I think the level 2 harm, let's call it jellyfished. And in this case, it is a combination of feeling like they are simultaneously stealing your body heat, but also your face is on fire, burning, stinging. So that is a level 2 harm. Recall that you can resist that and make it a level 1 harm by doing a resistance roll.
Yeah, gonna do that.
Yeah. So this
And that's
is
resolve.
This is definitely gonna. I feel like this is more of a. This is probably more of a prowess resistance.
Okay.
Because it's kind of just very physical. Yeah. So in this case, you're rolling prowess, and so 6 minus the highest die result, which was a 5. So lucky for you, you are only going to need to spend 1 stress to resist it, but resisting a level 2 harm just makes it a level 1 harm instead. So you'll instead have the level 1 harm stung, which is kind of you manage to avoid going all the way just through it and being surrounded by it. You kind of just get it glanced off your cheek and are able to sort of squirm away. But I think you definitely have discovered that these things are not fun to actually touch. And certainly, there's no. I think that you have been prevented from getting over to as far as you had wanted. So maybe you're like over here. Okay, so seems like everyone's not necessarily responding too quickly. Are you How far away are you trying to lead them, Nightshade?
I will, like, if they start to think I'm going, I will, like, turn back around to keep drawing them after me.
Okay.
So, as far away as I can get them, and then maybe think of a way to incapacitate them so that they can't come back and there's only 2 left to deal with.
Okay.
I haven't thought of it yet. I'm still thinking.
Sure. So, I mean, right now you have not yet changed your tactics, but you're starting to think about what the next step might be. What about Primrose and Garland? Primrose, you just got stung. Indigo and Garland.
You want to just charge in and see what happens with lightning underwater?
No. Although we should keep that in the back pocket just in case. Okay. But rather, I think a rescue and an assault at the same time is warranted. And so he's going to walk out a little bit, and he does do this a lot previously, so I feel there's precedent. He is going to use in the D&D one, it's the vortex swap.
Okay.
But seeing how the nasty reaction that Primrose had to being touched by those tentacles, he's going to swap Primrose with one of the guards to try to get them caught in the tentacles.
Okay. So I think that is probably that's going to be a we'll call it risky standard. Because attune, I guess, is what you've been using for your magic, right?
Can we make this worse?
Yeah.
I think we can push this.
I mean, I think that if you want to have it be, we can have it be desperate great if that's what you'd like, or devil's bargain to give you more dice, or.
So many delicious choices.
Yeah.
I think desperate because he wants to alter the destination to catch the guard in the tentacles.
Try to have it be a little bit more, have it be right in there instead of just glancing like Primrose was.
Right, but this kind of magic he's not done down here, and he knows this kind of magic can screw
up
down here too.
It's underwater, and it's also different when you're doing it with an ally versus an opponent, because they, even with D&D, they'd get a saving throw, right?
Yeah.
So
this is going to be a grand experiment.
Yeah. So let's see. Desperate great for your attune roll.
Right. No, I can't really push myself. The devil's bargains I never quite know
So
yet for them. So
the devil's bargain, basically you can get one more die to roll, but something will happen regardless of how the roll goes. And usually I
let's do
tell you
that.
what it would be. You want to do that too? Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So
Let's
I guess
push all the
the
buttons.
devil's bargain will be that whichever guard you're doing this to, the other one will see you.
Okay, I can live with that.
Yeah. So once this happens, the other guard knows exactly where you are.
So as part of pushing this, he's probably walking out a bit more so he can clearly see both of them. And yet putting himself at a great ranger. Sure.
Right. So that'll give you a bonus die when you set up your roll.
Awesome. Let's do that.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
5.
Okay. So yeah, that's a 4-1-5-1. So 5 is the result, which means it is a success, but an imperfect one. I keep not going all the way to pulling up my my PDF here, with which I can confirm things like rules and so on. But yeah, so essentially, what? Stop! Adobe is doing things to me. Stop it. That is not the one I want. Okay, so what? I'm sorry. I'm getting apps giving me trouble. So this should be just. It's always, what is that page that has all of those? There we go. Okay, so it was desperate. On a 4 or 5, you do it. And Adobe keeps giving me things that I don't want. And you do it, but there's a consequence. You suffer severe harm, a serious complication, or you have reduced effect. And because you specifically wanted the great effect, I'm not going to have that be the consequence. But I think I think that what happens is that this other guard is more on top of things, more of a hair trigger than you expected. And although you swap Primrose, so Primrose now is over where the other guard was, and this other guard is suddenly wrapped up in one of the tentacles, and so you do get 3 more ticks on the clock. So that happens, but the other guard suddenly whirls and just tosses something, and you're like, wait, what was that? And then all of a sudden you realize you have a harpoon in your chest.
Okay.
And
I would like to resist the harpoon.
Yeah,
but yes,
that is it. It would be a level 3 harm impaled.
Ooh. All right.
And that's let's see.
What are we resisting this with? Prowess, I think?
Prowess probably makes the most sense. Unless, yeah, prowess I think is in this case because it's really just purely physical.
I will push myself for this.
No,
I can't push myself in resistance.
You can't not for resistance, right?
Starting to learn the system. We'll figure it out eventually. All right, so prowess it is. No bonus dice. That's a 5.
Okay, so what that means is that you're only going to add 1 stress to your current stress points. However, it does just reduce it to a level 2. So I'll say we'll call it flesh wound.
Okay.
Level 2 harm, flesh wound. And so recall the way that the harms work is that when you have a level 1 harm, whatever the harm seems like it would apply to, you get a less effect when you're trying to do something with that. But if it's a level 2, that means that anytime you're doing something that would be relevant for, you're going to have 1 fewer die to roll.
And that's per harm or for the whole row being filled?
It is, I believe it, you know what? I feel like I had this wrong before. I believe that it is per harm because the 2 harms could be different and be relevant to different things.
Okay. Yep.
Right?
Actually, I found the line. Your character suffers the penalty indicated at the end of the row if any or all harm recorded in that row applies to the situation at hand.
Right.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Exactly. So, right. So now I think obviously your flesh wound is going to apply to anything like physical, right? You know,
Ow.
magic or brainy stuff is not going to apply, but moving around will, because you are now like bleeding from this harpoon that has, you know, I think because classically cinematically it's maybe in the shoulder because there's no like major organs there, even though like in reality actually getting wounded like or shot something there is actually like really bad. You know, I mean, I suppose it's maybe better than puncturing a lung or something, but it's just not, it's not like, oh yeah, it's fine. Anyway, but yes, you have been given a flesh wound from this harpoon, and things are kicking off properly. Hey, Garland, you gonna stand for that? That guy just threw a harpoon at your little buddy.
And he's probably more like there now. I don't think I can move mine for some reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me. Yeah, it's a little more abstracted than usual, but I'll make it so you can move them. I'll do that for everybody.
Yeah, just to make it apparent that he's standing out in the middle of everything now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So what is Garland doing? You with us, Paul?
Yeah. Which
Okay.
one am I?
You're right here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna take out my trident.
Can everyone move their token? Yeah. All right, so you're gonna take out your trident.
That's 30. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna move over to here and cast spiritual weapon.
Okay.
Right next to the guy who threw the spear.
All right.
Right above him.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to put it on there because again, it's not.
Okay.
We're not really just. This is not tactical battle map. This is
all right.
Abstraction.
And, okay. And yeah, I'm gonna whack him with my spiritual hammer because I can't get there to actually.
Again, remember, this is not like you can only move 6 squares because you have a movement speed of 30 feet. We're not playing D&D, right? So this is, again, just describe to me what Garland does, and then we'll decide what the role is.
Garland pulls out his spear, casts spiritual weapon just north of the guy, closes with him, and hits him from 2 directions at once.
Okay. That sounds to me like a skirmish roll.
All right.
And so that is going to be risky standard.
Okay. Five and a 1.
Okay. So a 5 for a standard, risky standard. Gosh, I where is the what? I have this PDF, and I keep wanting to refer to it, and there's this one particular page that is always what I want, and yet I keep losing it. Okay.
23.
Page 23 is the one that I want, yes. So, on a 4 or 5 on a risky standard, you do it, but there's a consequence. You suffer harm, a complication occurs, reduced effect, you end up in a desperate position. And so I think that's what it's going to be in this circumstance, is that you get a standard effect, which is 2 more ticks.
Okay.
But I'm going to say that, he's injured. He recognizes his buddy's been teleported away. He is going to yell for help. And Nightshade, the 2 that are up there with you, are going to say, "Hey, what's that?" And they're going to, they are wise to what's going on. They look like they're going to hurry back now.
Well, in that case...
And Garland is now making rolls in a desperate condition.
All right.
I think Nightshade probably has an opportunity to go first if we, we're not like in a strict initiative order, but she hasn't done anything in a little bit.
I would like to use my skin again to trap them from moving beyond the space in my shadow ribbons.
Okay.
So would that be an attune roll?
Yeah, that's an attune.
Okay.
Attune roll, and I think that is going to be. I think I'll allow it to be controlled standard, just because they seem like they're turning away from you.
Okay.
They're going to hurry back, so they're not necessarily focused on you.
Okay.
Okay, 3, 4, 6. So I think that is going to I said controlled standard. Is that right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's 2 more ticks. But they, you've got them temporarily trapped. But of course, they're gonna want to come out eventually. So. Okay, Primrose.
So I need to locate whatever is restraining, like the lock or whatever that's restraining the armor, quickly, and then cast knock and open it.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a study, because we just established that Garland is in desperate. I think you're in desperate too. But I think desperate standard. Because actually, you know what? It wouldn't be desperate anymore, because it was going to be desperate because they were going to rush back and now they're stuck. So risky standard.
Oh.
Oh boy. That's just a 1. Yeah. So I think that you reach out and you start feeling along the chains, and there's a moment where you hear sort of a slightly echoey sounding voice say, I say, do watch out for the... And then you've put your hand on a magical trap. And there is a detonation. There is a level 2... concussed headed your way. Would you like to try to resist that?
Yeah, I think so. Does that resolve or prowess? Or
yeah, I think you know what? I think it is probably resolve. What I need to practice is having more consequences that are theoretically not just physical, and therefore might be resisted by other things. But kind of what you're doing right now is fighting, so. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, so that's again just 1 more stress, although you're starting to get close, I think, right?
Yeah, I have 1 more.
So recall that if you fill up that stress, it is not only will you take a scar, but you are going to be out of commission for the remainder of the scene. So it's getting close. So that's only 1 more stress, but I think that instead you're going to take the level 1 harm stunned. You probably have 2 level 1 harms right now, right?
Yep.
Which means that, you can't reduce a level 2 anymore. Yeah. And I think we didn't really establish I think your stung is actually, I think you're fine, except that your face is all swollen and puffy on one side. And so it would be affecting your charisma and sort of persuasion type rolls, you know what I mean? Because you look like half of your face is swollen up. Okay, so that's what that would be. And I think the stunned is going to be for mental intelligence, like sharpness sorts of rolls. Okay, so uh, Indigo, what's up?
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder about all of this. Okay, that was a magical explosion. Those can be contained or drained away. But we also have a person that's fighting there. I think that. Oh, I love these desperate rolls. They're so much fun. I think that now knowing there is a trap on the item itself, that does seem to be something that blows out outward. I think he's going to try to trigger it to go at the guard.
Okay.
To try to have the effect go at the guard.
All right. What's that look like? How is that? How would you make that happen?
It seemed to happen when she touched it, right?
Well, she was certainly feeling around trying to find the lock on it, and so she was like searching around on it. It wasn't like just a casual touch. It was searching around on it.
Okay. I think that what he's going to do then is, let's make this more dangerous. He's going to go up to it using Mage Hand as well. So 3 hands to prod with. Try to find that point in which it starts to generate energy. Then using shaping from some sort of absorb elements thing that he has to try to, or shield, either that, to try to deflect it onto the guard.
All
so
right.
He's playing around with magical powers.
So
which is what he likes to do.
So attune would be what you're kind of hoping to. You're primarily using your magic to shape the trap's response, as opposed to something more clever with your hands.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I mean, it could also be study. Magic is his method of doing things, but it is much an intellectual challenge.
I think in this context, it sounds like it would be. It is channeling through the magic and your understanding of the how the trap works. But yeah, I would say that's a desperate gamble, because your friends are also right there. So, like in the, potential detonate, you're putting yourself in, like, so if it goes bad, it could be really bad. And so, I'll definitely say
does the flesh wound affect this one?
I'll say no, not in this case. But it is desperate standard.
And I will, why not? I will push myself. So I'll spend the 2 stress for an additional die.
Okay.
Because I want to see how far and how badly this goes. So that is desperate. Did you say desperate?
Desperate standard, yeah.
Okay. And I've got 1 extra die. Let's see how bad this gets.
Okay, nope, 1163. Okay, yeah. So I think that you recognize that this particular type of trap seems likely to be able to trigger more than once. And having just observed it happening with Primrose, you prepare sort of a little channel to deflect it and guide that concussive energy in another direction, and you end up blasting that remaining guard into the wall, at which point you see blood start to trickle up from his head, and he is just floating there limp. In the meantime, the one that was captured by the jellyfish also seems to be limp now within its tendrils. And then 2 others are trapped within Nightshade's shadowy tendrils. And so it would seem at the moment like you have dealt with the guards. And at this point, the suit of armor, still kind of wrapped in these chains, just kind of sits up and says, "Now I say, that was quite a thrilling display of prowess. Are you all right?"
No. I'm gonna rub my head now. Everything hurts.
I'm gonna come running.
hello.
Greetings. I am Valor. May I know the names of my rescuers? At least I presume you are here to rescue me and not to merely claim me as salvage. Did Curity send you?
Yes.
Yes.
Splendid.
I am Garland.
I'm Nightshade.
Primrose.
I'm very curious. Indigo. Are you a sentient being or merely a response?
Well, I suppose there are a number of ways to look at it. I am, it would appear to me, a creature, magic in nature, but with the capacity for independent thought, action, and speech. Does that make me a living thing or not?
I've met other animated automaton type devices, so I will conclude that you are, for the moment, sentient enough.
Wonderful. While we continue this philosophical conversation, I wonder if you might consider searching the guards for a key to the lock on these chains.
I will go search the guards.
I don't mean to presume you've been doing quite well, although I can assist you more if I were unlocked.
Really? That's intriguing.
It is, of course, why they chained me up in the first place.
You must have caused quite a problem for that old lady.
Well, not so much as we would have preferred. Alas.
All right. Do I find the key?
You do not, unfortunately. At least the two guards that you, well, it's hard to search one of them because he's being eaten by a jellyfish. The one that's right there by him is fine. The other two are trapped in shadow tendrils. So, at least.
Did we ever establish I could go inside there, right? Because they're mine.
I think you could. We have not real. I think the rules of the item that we originally created doesn't really include rules for that, but I don't see why you wouldn't be able to.
Okay. I will go into the shadow tendrils.
All right.
Where
I
I
think
assume
at
they're-
this point they are they had struggled a bit in there, but now they see you emerge and it's dark in there, so they just barely see your figure in there, and they're just kind of like, we're sorry we told you to shoo. Please
Give
let
me
us
the
out.
key. Give me the key.
What key?
You know what key.
Okay, here's the thing, like, we would if we had it, but I mean, like, we were not, like, given orders to, like, guard the armor unless something happens. Like, they didn't give us the key because there was no condition on which we would ever be told to unlock it. So we don't have a key.
All right, I will turn around and walk out and leave them in there.
Oh, come back!
Primrose? How do you feel about trying that spell again?
Well, I don't really want to touch it again. I think that's a bad idea.
I
would
dare
be familiar with the spell, otherwise it could help. I could probably try to contain some of the blast if it happens.
Because I can use knock, but I would have to touch it. The magic works weird down here.
Right.
I trust all of your knowledge and expertise with your own capabilities in this matter. I believe that my friend Curity would be able to unlock me were you to get me to her, but if you are not able to unlock me here, I will require assistance getting back to the surface.
How heavy is
Oh,
it?
Could we try using shatter on the lock?
or the chains?
I am not completely familiar with that spell, but I would caution that anything sufficient to break the chains would likely be harmful to me as well.
Yeah, kind of what I thought too.
Given their magical nature, I don't believe that I'd be able to extract him with my usual vortexes, but I'm also not keen to try too many more experiments down here.
Is there any part of the chains that that I could strike physically?
I mean,
wouldn't harm the armor.
again, what it will always be is there will be a roll. So if you think you want to try to say, okay, let's line it up to find a bit of the chain that I can try to strike with a weapon, then we can make a roll for it.
Okay, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
I can take a closer look potentially and find some sort of way to help.
I'm thinking a setup roll to try
Sure,
to find a weak
sure.
spot.
Yeah. You want to do a study roll to try to set up Garland's action?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find out. Okay. Does the flesh wound count?
No, not for study. That's going to be for physical things.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is bruised as well, but that doesn't really matter in this case. Is
Okay.
it a risky standard?
Yeah, this is a setup action, so I think.
I don't remember how that worked.
Yeah, it's under teamwork.
Oh, that makes sense.
Why is this not okay?
Is he the same kind of being as sequential would have been? Or is
He
he more
does
like a
not. I
magical
mean, he
item?
doesn't really seem to be, because sequential is more of sort of a complete, complex. He's got a lot of mechanics to him, and although obviously there's magic involved in the way that he must operate, there's a lot to him. Valor appears to your senses here as just a regular suit of armor, except that it can apparently move and talk by itself. There's nothing inside. It's hollow.
Work.
Yeah.
He's like the big jar from Elden Ring.
Let's see. I tell you, there's a reason that I sometimes hesitate to actually pull open Adobe to flip through this PDF, and it's because it's not the easiest to navigate through. Okay, so for setting up teamwork, you can set up a character who will follow through on your action. So basically, you do a roll, and there's no risky or position on it, because the effect is just going to be a +1 effect level or effect improved position for the follow-up roll.
Okay. I do have to take one. No, the assist is a stress.
Yeah.
The setup
Right.
does not cost a stress.
Right, because so assist would be, we would have to explain in fiction what you're doing that assists their role specifically, and it would give them an extra die to roll, as opposed to, well, I guess it could be a +1 to the roll, as opposed to improved effect or position. See what I mean? The
Right.
difference between adding dice versus changing fictional circumstances.
Okay.
So
it would be a setup roll in this case,
Okay.
and I think that Indigo would be using his ability to see magic and his expanded ability now to play around with the very fundamental forces of magic, the emerging sorcerer part, to be examining the sort of magical makeup of these chains to determine if there's essentially, it's like looking at a heat map and looking for that one spot which is a little colder than the rest, where the magic isn't reinforcing quite as strong.
Yeah. You're looking for the jewel weak spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, you said study?
Yeah, study.
And doesn't matter about position or effect.
If it is a success, then it will then Garland will get a improved result, improved effect.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
What is a success on that?
Yeah,
one?
it's 4 or 5. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
Let's see. I think it does. Yeah. So I think I feel like it's not as that's how we're ruling it. So it's fine. So there's no pressure on it right now. You're just studying it. You're not touching it. You've already seen what can cause it to erupt or not. So what I'll say then is that you're going to get. Okay, here's the question. Is the result of your assistance here, your setup, your study, is it that you are helping Garland be more likely to succeed in removing the chains, or more likely to be safe if it goes wrong?
I think more likely to succeed.
Okay. All right.
So
So
increased effect.
yeah, that's going to be increased effect. So that will be a risky great wreck roll for you, Garland.
Oh.
I am going to back up. Just in case.
Yeah, a bit of cautious distance is good.
Risky, great, and
Wreck is the skill.
wreck. Yeah. Is there a way for me to get any bonus dice on that?
You can push yourself, which would be
Okay.
take 2 stress.
Okay.
Let me see where my stress is. I will also wait. It's 2 stress, isn't it?
Yeah. So I believe it's 1 stress to assist. It's 2 stress to push yourself.
Okay, so if I want to assist him, I just need 1 stress.
Yeah. But
Okay, so-
how are you assisting though?
Um,
It has to make sense fictionally.
that's a good question. Can I go up and
Do you have, like,
analyze what he's?
Do you have like Hunter's Mark or something like that you could mark the spot?
Yes.
X
I
marks
do.
the spot.
Yes. I will use Hunter's Mark
Okay.
so that he knows exactly where to hit it.
All right. I don't think that's
That was
usually how
my-
Hunter's Mark works, but that's fine. It's fine.
Does that give me like an
Magic is
extra-
different down here.
Yeah. So she is doing an assist, which means she's marking stress, and you get 1 more die.
Okay, so I get 2 bonus die because I'm pushing myself. All right.
Whoa!
Oh my
You got 3 6s. Woohoo! I think what that means is that, with Nedry's kind of studying it and kind of pointing just like right here, and then Nightshade highlighting it magically, you are able to just go in there and with just like, it doesn't even require a lot of force because you have just found the exact right spot and you have precision control with your weapon, and it's just a tink, and the chains just and fall off immediately. And Valor, this suit of armor, immediately stands up and just starts like working all of his joints and says, well, I don't have muscles to stretch, but some of my joints had gotten grit inside. It feels great to be able to move again. Thank you. And that is an excellent display of precision wrecking, if I do say so myself.
Why, thank you.
Great job.
I gotta get you out of here, though.
Yep.
We gotta get us out of here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just looking around. We're all pretty
Yeah.
ragged.
I think we should be leaving.
Can we just recall briefly for one moment that there's a giant lobster monster thingy and a bunch of ghosts up in the next level that
I can send the ghosts home.
I think this is their home.
No. The ghosts need to go live where the afterlife is.
to their
This is not a
rest.
good afterlife.
Oh, well, I would presume that because they're here, things have not gone well for them trying to get to the afterlife.
That
Well,
is
I
a
did help
logical
them-
assumption.
Thank
I
you.
did help a lot of them pass over before we came down here.
That might take a considerable amount of time, though.
I did already. That's what I'm saying. Before we came down to this level,
That is a
I had helped.
my lady, if I might, that is a splendid and compassionate act. That laying ghosts to rest is a wonderful thing. However, I would suggest that generations of people have died looking for treasure here. There are many ghosts, and I believe that trying to lay them all to rest would be an extremely time-consuming activity. Not to say that it wouldn't perhaps be worthwhile. However, I would like to return to Curity prior to spending months laying ghosts to
Oh
rest.
yeah. I'm just saying, like I did help some of them already cross over. So I mean, I'm not saying I could do it to all of them, but I mean, if we do come across more that are more in the way,
Well, I dare say that although my sword has been claimed and remains in the possession of that hag, the Lady Despair, I am quite adept with my own two gauntlets, so to speak.
all right.
All right. Then let us away.
So, I'm trying to think how we would do this. You know what? Instead of just belaboring the point, instead of making it be a roll, what I'm going to say is that there are elements of Valor and his voice that remind you of Yobert. Like, he's sort of very much full of vim and vigor in a way that Yobert tends to be a little bit more, like, reserved. But
Like this is
there's some commonality in his voice.
like there's something missing from Yobert, and oh look, here it is, like that. Oh, you're killing me.
So I think as we walk, maybe we should have some discussion about, because we don't really know that much about Curity anyway, right?
No.
She is a dear friend. She has been harmed a great deal by the Lady Despair, and yet the Lady Despair is a powerful adversary indeed, and not one to be challenged lightly, as we discovered to our dismay. I thank you a great deal for coming to rescue me.
So how long have you known Curity?
Well, as long as I can remember.
How long have you been separated from her?
At this time, not... Well, you know, that's a good question. It's a little bit difficult to track time, not only in the Feywild, but when one is chained in the bottom of a cave at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, maybe a better question then is exactly what happened to put you in this position? Because, I mean, I know a lot of people, they'll make deals with the person in question, or they may do something she doesn't like, and so she puts a curse on them. What exactly brought you and Curity to this particular situation?
Well, if you will allow me a bit of discretion, I believe that some aspects of that story might be best told by Curity herself, just because, although you have my thanks and my appreciation for my rescue, I have just met you after all, and I think I would rather consult with Curity before telling you the entire story. However, the broad strokes are that we sought to harm the Lady Despair's interests in a way that she felt could not be tolerated, and as a punishment she had her men steal me away. I managed to hold my own. It took quite a number of them, but they did, alas, manage to best me, steal my sword, and chain me, bringing me here, as you can see. I can only imagine Curity has been quite inconsolable without my presence.
Well, I
So
don't know that that's
the-
the correct description for her.
I was gonna say
Ah.
the last time you saw her, she had emotions.
Well, Curity's affect can be subtle for those who do not know her. She can give the appearance of taciturn, stoic.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't
Resolve.
call her heartless, but maybe just like half heartless.
Like-
I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
like maybe.
I
Yeah.
I would suggest that you have not met her under the best of circumstances.
I imagine that's true.
Yeah.
So, I am happy to discuss further, but perhaps we should be making our way. My lady, Nightshade, you said. How much longer will those guards be remaining in those shadowy tendrils? I'm not familiar with that particular magical effect.
Oh, like an hour.
Oh, quite good. I think that's plenty of time then, but perhaps we should be on our way so that they do not see us leave.
So, just are we not at all concerned that maybe they'll tell other people what happened here?
Well, you know what I think? I think that someone might look into their little thing and already know what happened. So, I mean, did they see? They didn't even see the rest of you guys. They only saw me, and I was a shade at the time.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. I
I'm
think
not
we
worried
just need
about
to
it.
go.
Okay, if you guys aren't worried.
I'm happy to spare a life instead
Or
of
two.
murder aimlessly.
Yeah.
I applaud your consideration. The Lady of Despair is not to be trifled with nor underestimated. However, it is also my nature to not take a life where it is not necessary.
I mean, it's not my favorite thing either, but this whole situation is a little out of our comfort zone, or mine at least, anyway.
Understood. The moon-shadowed sea is a place that can test the moral code of the best of us.
Okay.
I mean, let's get out of here before
move.
we get more hurt.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. So, I think with your knowledge now of how they work, you're going to have a better effect, but you're still going to need to move back through this field of jellyfish. You are going to have to come back out of the various layers of all of this, but so I think in this case, we're going to have a 4-tick clock to get back through the jellyfish.
Okay.
I'm going to copy a couple of clocks.
Are we gonna do study again to like watch their patterns to move around them?
Well, I think that I mean, you can do, if you want to continue to watch them as like a setup, that can certainly work. Basically what it comes down to is we have a 4-tick clock. So tell me what it is that you do to navigate back through the jellyfish.
I'm gonna take my spiritual hammer and try whacking them from a distance.
Okay.
See how much see if I can push them out of our way or actually kill them.
So here's the question. Is it an attack with the intent to do damage, or are you using it to just like nudge them out of the way like the rock did?
I get more dice with skirmish, so I guess I want to try and harm them.
Well, I mean, I don't think we have to do it that way, right? You know what I mean? I think let's approach it from the fiction first.
From the fiction point of view, I would just knock them out of the way.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I was saying. And we can still use skirmish, but the point is this is a no, move, oh, move, as opposed to, trying to crush them. Right? Yeah. Okay. That's all. Just flavor of it. So you can roll skirmish, and I think that this is controlled because it's with your spiritual hammer, and it's going to be a great effect because it's you've got some understanding of how these things work now.
Okay. 5 and a 4.
Okay. So with a controlled 5 or 4, basically what that means is that you can either you can either accept a minor consequence, or you can back off and try doing it a different way. Or you can have a reduced effect, so like you would get 2 ticks of the clock instead of 3.
I'll take 2 ticks of the clock.
All right, I think that works. So we've got 2 of 4 for getting back through the jellyfish. You're clearing many of them away with the hammer. And they're just clustering around you a little bit more densely, and so it takes a little bit more doing. So who else is going to help?
Since I have some affinity with cold, I could try binding them.
Rhymes binding ice is the spell originally, but it's down here just cold magic.
Okay, sure. So like attune, I think that this would be I'll call it controlled standard, because again you're able to kind of do this from a distance, but you haven't really tried the cold thing before. So.
Nope, something new. Oh, that's bad.
Okay, yeah, that's a failure. And so even for a controlled, you falter, and so you can press on by seizing a risky opportunity or withdraw and try a different approach. So what that means is essentially you don't get any ticks, but you can try this again as a risky roll instead of controlled, or just say, oh, that didn't work, and try something else.
I think it's I think the risky one is more fun. So as he's trying to cast this with his pen, as he normally would do, the glyph isn't quite coming together, so he kind of tucks the pen in, and now just raw magical energy trying to grasp onto that and wrestle it into the shape.
Okay, so try that attune roll again, but risky this time.
Because it's going to go worse.
Well, 1, 2, 1. So 5, 5, 6 is better than a 1, 2, 1. So it's not worse.
That's definitely better, yeah.
Yeah. So I think this time, you had to kind of put yourself out there a little more, but this time it definitely works. Now, describe what it is that your magic did, because it just works. It gets you through the rest of these jellyfish. But what does that look like?
I think initially on the first attempt, it's sort of just the water around him starts to get a little cloudy and a little thick, and that's not it's not getting the range he wanted. And so he pushes himself into this, and it kind of looks like, ironically, like little tendrils of lightning of ice that kind of seize out in a bunch of different directions and kind of start to wrap around the jellyfish and kind of intertwine into their beings, kind of holding them there long enough, at least for us to get by. But it kind of looks like a frozen lightning strike from his hands all the way to that.
Nice. Very cool. So with that cold magic either striking or just driving away the rest of the jellyfish, you're able to safely make your way back to where you descended into this level. And climbing back up to the next level is not trivial. You kind of were able to just settle down coming down, but you have to kind of climb back up. And it's not difficult. but it is, it like climbing a ladder is not, nothing. It's not the same as walking down a hallway, right? So, but you climb back up to the the level that you were on before. And let's see, I think we had you right here, more or less. But again, this is kind of the challenge that you've got now is this is a lot of twisty, turny caverns, and you don't actually have the ghost or your little compass anymore telling you which way to go. And so you are going to have to navigate your way back out through these tunnels. And so I'm going to do a 6-step clock for that. And bearing in mind, you do have things that could probably help you out with that, but we'll approach those fictionally.
I would like to do a rewind.
Yeah?
And set it up that when we were following her, I actually made a map of this level.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was drawing it out as we were going, because I wasn't sure how long she would be with us.
Sure. How about this? If you want to have an actual physical map that you could give to someone else and they could see also, I'll say that's a 1 stress flashback. But because we talked about how Gala, the ghost, was kind of your fictional representation of the crew thing that you did, which was like knowing maps and stuff like that. And we essentially said that when you laid her to rest, you kind of gained the ability to call on that knowledge. So what I'll say is you can call on that knowledge without needing to do the flashback.
Okay.
But you still need to make a roll, but you don't have to spend any stress on a flashback.
Okay.
But like I said, a flashback that you actually made a map that you could hand to someone else and they could follow, like that would be a good example of something that you could do with a flashback.
Can people assist with flashbacks?
Well, I mean, yes and no. It depends on what it is, right? Like, it depends on whether it's something that would require assistance or not. Like, if she was just drawing a map as you went, I would say that's stress, but there's no roll to be made for it. Whereas if it was, oh, actually, I tried to bribe one of the guards, right? We might need to do a roll to see how it goes. But one of the interesting things about flashbacks is when you accept the stress cost, it means it works. But if you had to do a roll and the roll goes bad, it means that the complication will show up in some other way. Because if you do a flashback, the thing you're doing the flashback to make happen will happen. You pay for it with the stress, right? But if there is a complication from the roll, it will show up somewhere else. But, so in this case, though, if you want to, for example, let's see, what skill might make the most sense for, what would be survival in like survey, probably, I would think would be the skill, the most obvious skill for just like remembering your mental map for how to make your way out. I would say you would have great effect for that. And it would be risky because it's you're still moving through a risky area, but great effect from having the map.
I will give it a shot.
Yeah?
But I would also like to take a devil's bargain because I only have 1 in survey.
Sure. I think, let's see, the devil's bargain in this case is, I think that you hear like now that you're sort of out of the area, even, well, okay. I think we have previously established that your shadowy tendrils, can people like hear through it? I think we've done that. You can, right?
Yeah.
So I think what ends up happening is that the devil's bargain is that you realize, even though you still got them trapped down there for now that they don't hear anything else happening around them, they've started shouting for help, and you're hearing that like echo up through some of these weird little cracks and crevasses and stuff. So it's possible that there's going to be, people alerted or creatures agitated by shouting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So with a 5 and a 4, with risky, that means that I think that, yeah, okay, so you're going to get your great effect, which is 3 ticks on the 6-step clock. But you are going to have, I'm going to say, a level 1 harm, anxious.
Okay.
And that would be an example of one that you could potentially try to resist with resolve.
Great.
Right?
We'll try.
And anxiety, because it's like, oh no, they're shouting. We don't have an easy way to go back and make them stop doing that. What's that going to do? So that's a 4, which means 6 minus 4, you take 2 stress to resist that one. And so by doing that, you just don't take that harm at all. But
Okay.
you spend the 2 stress, which I think several of you are getting close on the stress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All
only
right.
have 2
Yeah.
left until
I'm
trauma.
one away.
All right. So I think, though, that you have made your way through a significant part of these of these caverns. There's a little more ways to go. You could potentially, you know what? I'm going to say, instead of just having it be, let's do that same roll again, I think what's going to happen is that you're going to come across an area where this lobster thing, you've come around a curve and you see that this big lobster thing is kind of, seems to be like it's not hunting you, but it has settled down in a place that's kind of in the way. And this is not a new clock, that is still just represented by the 6-step getting out of here clock. So, but now the obstacle is there's a giant lobster in your way, rather than being lost in the tunnels.
Does anybody have any ideas for this lobster?
There's so much I can risk now.
I could try wall of blades on it.
Or we
And
could just like have it like distract it somehow, lead it away.
Like with an illusion?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, I have prestidigitation, but
I have. I'm
You
gonna
can
see
do
if I
minor
have-
illusions.
I can
Did you
also
want to?
like make duplicates of myself. So I could, potentially I could make a duplicate. I could make 2 duplicates or whatever, and like send one of them one way and the other one the other way to try to distract it.
You are quite
do
the
we just wanna
remarkable
do-
group of people.
Thank you. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think that's worth a shot, especially if your duplicates are the ones that, it might be going after and not us.
Yeah. I agree.
All right.
So,
So if the idea is that you're creating the magical duplicate and the duplicate's going to lead it away, right? Or distract it, that I think that sounds again like it would be sway to me. Unless, yeah, like that's kind of what makes the most sense to me. But we can talk about if you feel like you would want it to be something else. I mean, we've kind of used attune pretty liberally in that regard. But
I was gonna say, like, what if she runs up to it and starts like shouting at it and yelling at it to follow me? Then could I use command?
yeah,
Haunt.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I will do that then.
yeah. Because the thing is, your magic allows you to make the duplicate. The question is
Right.
whether or not you can make the lobster move with it, right?
So risky.
Yeah, I think actually I'll even say it's controlled because you're doing it kind of from a distance and hoping to just lead it away. So I'll say it's controlled and standard.
Okay.
Okay. So with a 5, that is again, it is the, you can choose to like it's not working kind of as well as you thought. You could maybe try it again with a little bit more oomph but it would be risky. Or you can just try doing something else. But it seems at first, like right now at least, it's not into the duplicate. It doesn't seem to be taunted by it. And so
I will try it again. Risky.
Right. Okay.
So that is. Well, it's standard, right?
Yeah, so it'll still be standard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was before.
Mm-hmm. It actually shows on the little display. So 2, 5, 6. A 6 means it's a success. So yeah, I think. What is it that you do that puts it a little bit more dicey, but at the same time, like finally gets it to respond?
She's gonna pretend like she's gonna start crawling on its back and ride it around.
Okay.
And then when she goes to make the move, it like starts to pinch and like starts to run after her because it feels kind of annoyed.
Right. And I think that there's a moment where in its reaction to the duplicate, it actually kind of turns back around. It's sort of like passing back through where it would be looking right back at you all. Like, and there's a moment of like, oh, is it going to see us? But thankfully it doesn't seem to react, and it eventually does, move off, chasing your duplicate off into another area enough that you think you can sneak by, perhaps get by it. But I think that so that gives us another 2 of 6. So we're almost done with this level. I think that what happens as you scoot on past the lobster is that you've discovered, oh wait, here's that one spot that was really kind of small and we had to kind of squeeze through there. And so, I think that this, well, you know what? Never mind. That's not a good obstacle for everybody here. We
had to do a group check last time, I think.
Yeah, I think in this case though, like, well, are you trying to be? Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's have that be. I think we did it as a group finesse check last time. And so again, this would be something where theoretically you could each do it individually, or we could do it as a group check. And I think that this would be an example of something that like the finesse would certainly like be affected by Indigo's, flesh wound harm, and some of you that have got some harms would be affected by that.
I think last time Indigo was small enough just to move.
Yeah,
through.
I think that would make sense in this case. You wouldn't need to, and I think what we did last time is that we didn't you still roll because you rolling gives more chances of a better result, but a failure for you won't add stress to whoever leads the action. I think that's what we did last time.
And was this a finesse?
Yeah,
roll?
this is finesse. So, who wants to lead the finesse roll? Or you could just each roll it individually if you feel like sparing the stress is going to be too. Okay, no, you know what? Here's the obstacle. Valor is a suit of armor, He's very rigid, and he discovers going through this way, it's a little bit too small for him.
Can
So
he go in the bag?
that does seem like one possible way to go.
Or
In fact, you could all go inside, and I could carry the bag through. I don't know if there's anybody actively looking for us at this point. Not here, anyway.
or we could do the tower, the bag, either one. I mean, the
True.
bag, we're going to go into jail.
I can avoid putting you in jail. I have that much power over it.
Oh, nice. Whatever. That would work. To just have you crawl through.
Yeah.
Might be a little slower this time, but I think I can do it.
Someone want to persuade Valor to get in a mysterious bag?
Get in the bag. Get the bag.
That's sway, right? I have
Yeah.
3 in that. I am theoretically good at those.
Yeah, so I think that in this case, I think standard effect, and I mean he seems like he's relatively trusting for you right now, so I think controlled makes sense. Controlled standard sway. Okay, that's a 6. And it says, well, I don't make it a habit to get into strange bags often, but I think under the circumstances, perhaps I can trust you. And so that'll get us back up through. So that resolves this layer. But it is as you are making your way back up through kind of leaving this part of the layer that you recall the next layer up had the passageway up to that next level was guarded by these little sort of sad, slimy looking fey creatures that you were told by the ghost would want to toll, and you just snuck by them the last time. And so right now that might be easier to do a sneak if you don't have everybody out of the bag. But how do you want to approach that situation? You suspect they might still be up there.
Not great at sneaking. Might be able to teleport around them, but I don't have a lot of energy left.
Is this a situation where, let's see, what size are these things? I'm trying to remember.
The actual creatures are small, but there's several of them.
Okay, so that's not going to work.
We could just pay the toll.
That's true, and if only one of us goes by, only one person has to pay the toll, right? They don't know we're carrying passengers.
I mean, that sounds sensible, but you really haven't negotiated with them before, so you have no idea if that would be how they think of it.
Well, what they don't know won't hurt us.
You don't know that. It could hurt us.
Then
I found many of the things I don't know definitely hurt me.
why doesn't Indigo turn invisible and just?
I mean, I can
Go
turn
past
invisible too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're going to have a 4-tick clock to deal with these little critters, these boggles.
I don't have the ability to turn invisible, but
Are we still in the bag, or did
I mean,
you
I
let
can
us
make
out?
you invisible.
Well, up to you all. I mean,
I
you
can
only
also
needed
make-
to be in the bag to get past that one really narrow area, but you can decide to go back in it.
I don't know what the toll would be, and I don't really know if I have anything to give the toll.
I have a bunch of stuff that I got
Remember, it's
specifically
stuff-
for that.
Yeah, it's stuff that they couldn't get down here, right? That's what they
Yeah.
said.
Right, like lost stuff, lost junk just comes down here all the time. It might as well be weather to them.
But I
What
have like a bunch of
about-
unique magical items.
What about
Do you have my
a
fish?
verse of a lost song?
Maybe.
How do you give
you would
that
have
to
to
them,
you
though?
would have to ask them, I suppose. You'd
Yeah.
have to make that offer.
We could negotiate.
Let's just talk to them and find out what they want.
Kind of see this weary party like, let's just talk to them this time.
Let's not fuck around and find out.
Okay.
So
So are you all out of the bag and you're just kind of gonna go ahead and climb up?
Yep.
So I think that there is a lot of sudden surprise and activity as you start climbing up because you hear them. They're speaking in Sylvan as well. Do any of you speak Sylvan?
I do, but I have my earring.
Huh?
I do, but I have my earring.
Well,
So.
I was just going to say, yeah. So you are aware then that what they are basically immediately saying is, wait, who are they? Where'd they come from? They didn't come through here before. So they're very active, and they seem like they're startled, scared, but they are still nonetheless gathering around in such a way that they're hoping that numbers would overwhelm. Like the idea that big scary people might just shove them over, but if there's lots of them, maybe not. They seem to be setting that up, and they just say, "Hey, who are you? Stop!"
We just got a little lost. So just trying to find our way.
Bad thing to say down here.
Way out of here, and I think it's this way. But so yeah, we're just kind of. We got lost.
Well, if you want to come this way, you gotta pay the toll. And if you didn't pay it on the way down, then you gotta pay double now.
So what's the payment? What do you want? Do you have anything specific in mind, or do you just like unique, rare things?
Well, let's see what you got.
I am going to take out a vial of perfume that only Fey creatures can detect.
Ooh, yeah.
A lock that opens when you drip blood into the keyhole. Let's see, what else do I got here?
Okay.
I still have a tiny spool of never-ending black thread, which I gave to Evan, but he did not want it because it wasn't as cool as the other stuff. So I still have that.
So they're definitely doing their best to kind of give you like poker face. So, I think those are reasonable to make a roll on though. So that would definitely be, sway is the most obvious, but I would almost even rule consort might be okay because you're kind of bargaining rather than persuading in some ways, right?
Yeah, I only have one in sway and 0 in consort.
Well, sway is certainly a perfectly fine way to do it then. So I think in this case, it's risky standard.
Okay. Oops. Four.
Okay. So I think that in this case then a 4, I think what makes the most sense in this circumstance is not that you suffer any harm or anything, but just that they're less impressed than you hope. So you're going to get less effect. So instead of 2 ticks, you're only going to get 1. They say, yeah, those are pretty good. That'll be enough for you. What have your friends got?
Wait, how many things was that?
3.
So, by my count, that should be passage for 3 of us.
Yeah? What are you going to do about it?
Well, I mean, look, we're trying to be civil here. We could just fight you, but that seems counterproductive. We don't really like doing that. So, I mean...
This sounds like it might be
doesn't
command. To basically...
That's right.
Yeah.
A very veiled, soft.
I mean, I could.
But weird.
I might allow. So here's what I'll say. I will give you a better effect with command than sway, but I would want you to like bump it
I
up
have
a little
0
bit.
in sway, so
Really?
or I
Yeah,
have 0
really?
in command.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
have
say,
0
I
in
was gonna
command,
say.
3 in sway. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Oh.
think then if so, I think sway needs like command is more like we're telling you guys to get out of our way versus actually trying to persuade them. You know what
I mean,
I
I am trying to persuade them. We've given them 3 things, and yeah, there's, I mean, what
Well,
there's 4 of
and
us? So yeah, then
well,
we owe them one more thing. That's what I'm trying to.
so what they're saying, what we're saying here is that not all gifts, not all treasures are equal, and just because there's 3 objects doesn't mean that counts for 3 people. So basically, they're saying right now that what Nightshade offered isn't enough, but you can try to. I think you need to. They're saying that's not enough, so you need to tell them either what you might do more, or give them some other reason.
Okay. Well, my gifts aren't quite as tangible. So if you were wanting additional tolls, I do have a very rare, and it's scattered and buried and it's been lost for ages. I have a very old song that I would be willing to share a part of it with you.
Song. They're like talking amongst each other in like like consternation. Like they're not sure. This is quite irregular. I don't know. A song, is that something we accept? I don't know. Go ahead and make a sway roll. Risky standard.
Oh,
413. Okay. Well, so I think in this case, I think that I think that what it'll be is that okay. I'm trying to. Okay, so here's how I think I'm gonna rule this: is that you are able to, like, it's like, all right, well, we'll accept a song, but it's got to be a long song. You got to sing until we're ready for you to be done. And mechanically, this is going to essentially, like, you'll get your standard effect, which is 2 more ticks, which is not quite full, right? But it's going to put you all in a desperate circumstance because they're wanting to keep you here for a lot longer than you'd probably prefer to be here. And it's going to start being like, oh, wait, it's been an hour since we left where those guards were. And they're maybe going to start coming up here soon. And that's, so the clock is ticking if you're going to, stay here that long. So I think what that's going to, so basically, yeah, they say that the song is, but they want you to just keep singing.
Well, I can't do it indefinitely.
Well, no, we know. We'll tell you. We'll tell you when to stop.
I think we're going to have to put a time limit on it. Just because...
100 hours.
Long, that's a bit much. I think that's outside of what I am physically capable of doing.
90
Like,
hours.
physically, I could not do that. Hey, your maximum, I think, most of my performances don't really go for more than about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. 31 minutes.
I don't know. That's going to be a stretch. But, okay. I will stay for the 31 minutes it takes for me to entertain you. And my friends can move along having paid the toll with the gifts from my friend.
So technically, with so you've only got 2 more ticks. So you need something a little bit more. You got to sweeten the deal just a little bit more. Like, they're almost on board with what you've just proposed. They start looking worried again when you say everyone else gets to leave.
Well, the thing is that would make this extra special. I have a song that nobody's heard yet. Anybody. Not even these guys.
Go ahead and make another sway roll.
Please go better. Please go better. Please go better. It's still risky standard?
I think this one would be more controlled. You've got them on the hook at this point. And you really only need 1 more tick anyway. Yes. All right, there's the 6. Yeah, so they say, oh, a song nobody's ever heard before. Okay, well, I mean, she might be lying, but I don't know, it might be worth it. And so we accept your terms.
Deal.
All right.
Shoo them off then.
Yeah. Okay.
It might be dangerous for me, but okay.
Yeah, so here's the question, right? Is everybody else, what are you doing? So Primrose has just made arrangements that the rest of you can just go ahead and leave, but she'll stay behind for half an hour. And what I'll say is, like, the whole devil's bargain of this was that, like, if she stays and sings for half an hour, those guards will definitely have gotten out by then.
I will cast invisibility on myself once I get near the door.
Okay. And
to
so
make it look like I left, but I will stay behind.
What it means basically, mechanically here, is that once she finishes singing, to get all the way out, she's going to need to make a desperate roll to get away, is what I'm thinking.
I'm sure nothing will go wrong here.
Well, and so what that means is that if any of you want to do something that is going to, like, aid that or set it up or whatever, like, that's I think the way to resolve it.
Can't you, like, warp her?
It's possible. As long as we can stay within a certain visual range, I can assist with that. The timing will be tricky, but should be able to.
So I think the range is actually, if he upcasts it, the range gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so I think what we would be doing is we'd be making a desperate attune roll, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think that sounds like it works to me, is that everyone else is kind of staying near enough by that the idea is that as soon as she's done, you're skedaddling in a hurry, in a way that it won't be obvious to anyone right there what happened or where she went.
Right.
That's the idea, right? That's the goal that you would be trying to achieve.
I was actually thinking once we got past these guys, we could just warp her out and not wait the half hour.
Well, I mean, you could try that. We would roll to see how it goes, right?
Yep.
They would
never
definitely
be
come
able
after
to
us.
come back here.
Well, not to mention just that, again, it's one thing to say, like that those 2 guards that you had in the shadow tendrils didn't see anything, but you're having a whole conversation with these guys now.
From what I remember, Garland, it's very bad to break an agreement down here.
Okay.
But I can be on standby to be ready to move her when she's ready to go.
Or if those guards come busting through here,
True. They
then
might
we
not show
break
up.
the deal. Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
suppose anybody has anything to like petrify people, do
Technically, yes.
they? Petrify the guards.
It's possible.
Or we could just be murder hobos and kill all these poor little fairies. These little mer fairies.
I mean, right now, you've already made a deal, right? Have you
Yep.
already agreed? It seems like you did.
Mhm.
One way or the other, I can either pull her out or I can stop the guards. I'll be ready.
All right. So, what do you sing for them?
Well, I do actually have a song that nobody's heard before.
I was hoping.
I don't know if you want me to do the whole thing. I mean, you guys.
Well, I
like-
mean, I don't think we literally need you to sing for 31 minutes.
Right. So the
don't
song that
need
I would
to.
choose that nobody has heard before is actually one that I wrote based on us and
Ooh.
something we did.
That's cool.
I call it "It's My Bard Diss Track."
Well, so I guess I would say we would love to hear as much or as little of that as you would care to sing for us.
Okay. Well, how about I do the first verse and the chorus? I think you guys will get the gist.
That sounds good.
Okay. In Gorn I happened one day to come across quite the fray. A big drunken brute made off with a lute, which a bard was determined to play. For she could not sing without those strings, nothing else would do. Looking high and low, her tears did flow until the pig did spew.
Very nice.
Been holding that one in reserve in case it ever needed.
I think that these little swamp boggles are like they're loving the song, but as soon as you're talking about a pig spewing, oh my God, this is the greatest song they have ever heard in their whole lives. This is just like they are just astounded. But I think what happens here is that as your concert, is going on, there is a point where you start hearing those guards coming from below, but desperate that your concert not be interrupted, several of these boggles go down and delay those guards so that you can finish. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to instantly stop doing that as soon as you're done, but they're determined that you not be stopped before you finish your agreed upon time. So I think they are absolutely in love with the concert. However, once your agreement is done, they're not gonna put their necks out. So the question now becomes: we've got a desperate move to get you out of there before these guards come and pouring up out of that tunnel. What's the plan?
I will bow graciously,
Mm-hmm.
thank them quickly, and start heading towards the exit. Not running, but at a quick clip.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Not worried. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
Was this what Indigo was gonna do, or are we doing something else?
Kind of waiting to see what the reaction was. Once he sees the guards, he'll try to stop them.
Oh, okay. I thought
that's
you
how
were.
the
I
whole
thought you were
person-
going to do the vortex. Okay. So
There was two possibilities, and it was
Okay.
going to depend on whether or not she had to get out of their presence as well,
I see.
or just away from the guards.
Okay,
and they
yeah.
seem to be fine with her. So
sure. So I think that's going to be it's a desperate tune, but basically we'll say standard effect. But I mean, in this case, any success, like you only need essentially one tick of a clock. One partial success will be enough, but
And
it
this
is
is desperate.
it is desperate because they are angry, and they are eager to just pour up out of that tunnel as soon as they can.
I got nothing else to put into it, so we will do it the hard way. Let's see what happens. 5s. Well.
Okay. So that means that it will be a success that you are able to hold them, but we have got a desperate consequence. So on a desperate roll with a 4 or 5, there is a severe harm, a serious complication, or you have reduced effect. I think what happens is that is you're able to hold them just fine, and that's not a problem. But they're so mad when that happens, and as you're hurrying away, Primrose, you hear, by means of an apology, the Boggles explaining to the guards everyone they just saw come up out of the tunnel. And so that's going to be the severe consequence. The major consequence here is that essentially, like, the thing where those 2 guards had only seen Nightshade in shade form, that they're going to now have full descriptions of everybody. And here's the thing. Did you have Valor out of the bag? I mean, I think he would not want to be in there by himself, but I think he would understand if that was insisted on.
Isn't he in there with Buster?
Well, I mean...
Oh, no, not
Buster's in the tower.
Yeah.
Buster's in the tower, yeah.
So, I mean, I think let's just be honest with the fiction. If you think you would have insisted that he stay in the bag or the tower.
I feel like we would have, just because he was like, it was so risky to get him out.
Fair enough.
That we probably would have convinced him to stay.
I think that
he
makes
is
sense.
the prisoner that we're releasing. So
yeah. So they don't necessarily know him, but they do know now that the armor is gone, and they will have descriptions of the 4 of you coming out of the tunnel. But this is a consequence that could potentially be resisted. It would be someone that needs to roll to resist it. I think it was your roll, Indigo. So I think it would be you that would need to roll the resistance, and I think that it would be. Let's see, what would it need to be? I think it would probably need to be insight to, which I think is probably good for you, honestly. To figure out what you can do to interfere and interrupt what they're doing. Because you hear them start to describe everybody. Okay. Right? And so essentially what we're going to say is your resistance here is essentially you're doing something to stop that from happening as seriously as it would. Because this is a severe consequence, or like a serious complication. And so you can reduce it to a minor complication, but not to nothing.
Okay.
So, but
yeah, I don't think anything here applies. So,
yeah. Mechanically,
it will be
insight resistance. Yeah.
Right. In the fiction, it is. Oh no! They can't hear this. So he's trying to shape the hold so that their ears stop working. Essentially.
Okay.
They aren't vibrating properly, so they aren't actually hearing. It's a long shot, but I'll give it a try.
Sure.
And it's no bonus dice, just straight up insight, right?
Yeah.
See how this goes. Ooh,
oh boy,
2s. That's bad.
So that means you're going to take 4 stress. Is that?
That is out.
Yeah.
So there's a trauma.
Okay, and so
I think trying to hold this and kind of slumps down.
So I think so Indigo is just like straining to shape the music, but then and so I think what happens is it seems like it works, that like something crazy is happening with the magic over there. They're like shaking weird, and like they're starting to like move around in their held thing, and the Boggles are like, yeah, let's get out of here. But so we'll say that they only described Primrose because Primrose was the one that was there. singing, and that's who they started with. But then they got spooked by the weirdness with the way that the guards were being held and kind of made themselves scarce. So they didn't describe everybody else, but Nedry, what, just passes out, you think, or?
He probably
Because-
slumps down, just unable, because it's not technically
Yeah,
has to.
you don't have to be unconscious. It basically just means that, like, you might run away. It just means that you're really not able to contribute to the group effort for the rest of the scene. Even though I think essentially now you're out, basically.
Right.
I
Yeah,
will
I think
just
it's kind of.
I was gonna
go
say
ahead.
like I'm invisible, so I can just like sweep down and pick him up and like carry him out if he's unconscious or whatever. So
I think
that'll
at this
look
point
even
he's kind
creepier.
of he's taken in by his own experiments with magic, and just this isn't stuff he's never even conceived of doing before. So I think he's as much stunned and kind of staring at his own hands and how he's been shaping magic. So that's his out, kind of lost in thought.
Just like in a little fugue state or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
only a little one because he's a small guy.
just a little fugue state. As a treat. So I think with that, you are all able to make your way out of the vents, and then you're not spotted on your way back to your HQ. And so you have completed the score of rescuing the Valor, the suit of armor. And so I think we will deal with the payment and downtime stuff next time. But well done. I think let's finish by doing your XP and XP questions, right? So certainly any desperate rolls that you made count as XP. So I know there was several of those this time. That's fun. And then of course everyone has your specific thing. So Garland, did you address a challenge with violence or coercion?
At least twice.
Yeah, yeah. So again, it's it's like you mark 1 XP if it was once, or 2 if it happened multiple times. That sounds like. Did you
Okay.
express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
Not this round, I don't think.
Okay.
Not today.
Yeah, and I don't think you struggled with issues from your vice or traumas.
Nope.
Yeah. All right. So, Indigo, did you address a challenge with calculation or conspiracy?
I don't know.
I mean,
I think he did.
I think so. Oh, you studied the jellyfish patterns and you looked for the weak spot
Okay.
on the chains. And
That's true.
what about beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
I mean, he's experimenting with magic and trying to do all kinds of weird things, if that counts.
Oh, we lost Jenny.
someone.
Oh no. Here, let's see. I think I can briefly put us on.
He had Indigo with her, so
Yeah.
No, she's invisible.
Yeah, definitely. Invisible. Okay, so yeah, beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. I think we were saying probably not, right? But so in any case,
Well, he's
everyone.
experimenting with magic, but
Yeah. And then everyone so everyone has the same ones for beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. Like you mark XP if you did that, or if you struggled with issues from your vice or traumas, and then just the other specific ones for Nightshade, it would be if she addressed a challenge with knowledge or arcane power. I think. I guess we would let her decide, because ultimately, just as a reminder, it is your call of if you think you did that or not. Oh, hey, Jenny, welcome back. Welcome back.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. But do you think you addressed a challenge with knowledge or arcane power?
Yeah, I think I did
Yeah.
a couple times.
All right, and then Primrose did you address a challenge with deception or influence?
At least twice.
Yeah.
And I got enough. I filled up my resolve
Okay.
XP thingy, so I put another dot in consort.
All right, great. And so I think everyone can mark their XP as they like, and then so we will deal with the payment and heat and downtime and everything. We'll find out what comes next for the Scare Stoppers, aka the Pocket Protectors, when we return for more adventure on so many levels.
So many levels.
So many blades
Many
and levels
levels.
and deeps and things.
Yeah.
People.
If I could find the right thing, I could stop the stream. There it is. Good night, everybody.
Can't stop the stream.
Good night.